Hi everybody, it's Lee Locklear. Welcome back to the Cutting Edge Garage. As promised, we started a brand new video series comparing the Snap-on P1000 scanner versus TEXA IDC5 software. Today's comparison will be on a 2017 Harley-Davidson Road Glide that you see behind me. In our last video, we performed the same exact comparison on a Ducati Monster, which in case you missed it will be in the description below. Make sure you check it out. Since that video premiered, we've received feedback from customers and viewers who felt that the comparison was a little unfair since TEXA is the factory scan tool for Ducati. So as promised, we're going to hook up both tools to this Harley, which should be an advantage for the P1000 given the long relationship between Snap-on and Harley-Davidson. So stay tuned while we get this bike hooked up and start scanning. Okay, we're going to start with the P1000. We already have all of our cables hooked up. Seems as though on this Harley-Davidson that this code scans a little bit slower than what I would expect it to be. We'll also compare that to the TEXA IDC5 software once we get to that. I'm assuming I didn't see anything that said we're finished, but I'm assuming that our code scan is complete. So we've got codes in the body control module and in the radio control module. And we're going to actually look at those codes and their descriptions once we get into the individual module. We can scroll down and get our descriptions here. Now, one thing that I really don't like about the P1000, and not to really pick on Snap-on, but let's call it what it is. This is 2020. This is a 5.6-inch monochrome screen that's not using the latest technology. What I should be able to do, what I feel as a technician I should be able to do after running a complete code scan is to double click on this and start the diagnosis in that module directly. And you're going to find with the TEXA IDC5 software that's exactly what we'd be able to do. And if you were using current technology in the Snap-on tool, would be able to do that as well. For the money involved in these two tools, I would expect current technology. So when we go into the operating values, we can scroll through. And I'm going to count these as we go. It looks like we're dealing with 44 data PIDs in the P1000. And obviously once we get in here, we want to find out how many data PIDs we're looking at. Looks like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That puts me down at the end of the list. So it looks like we're looking at 8 data PIDs. If I've counted those wrong in this list or in the operating values list, I can assure you it wasn't intentional. One of the things that I absolutely loathe about this scan tool is it doesn't actually give me how many data PIDs I'm dealing with. One of the things that I really do like about the IDC5 software is at the top, I'm going to know exactly how many data PIDs I have. In the actuator test, we have air cleaner intake valve, we have cooling fan 1, cooling fan 2, coolant pump, idle air control valve, servomotor exhaust flap. A couple of these, so we're looking at 6 bidirectional controls according to the list. Having said that, this is a little perplexing, to be honest. Cooling fan 1, cooling fan 2, and coolant pump, I'm not sure why they're listed here. This is an air-cooled engine, or appears to be an air-cooled engine, because we couldn't find a cooling fan or a radiator. Now we're going to go ahead and test the idle air control valve and the servomotor exhaust flap. According to the software, that test needs to be done running, so we're going to go ahead and start the bike up. I'm not sure exactly what this test is supposed to do. I would assume that we should be seeing some kind of idle control, or be given some type of idle control. There's nothing in the instructions that tells me what to hit or what expectation I should have with this test. I hit start, nothing happened. I have to assume that this test is not working as designed. Now we'll go ahead and take a look at the servomotor exhaust flap. I'm getting a request out of range, not exactly sure what that means. Obviously the test isn't working. There are no instructions on what that test actually does. Okay, again, another test with the engine idling. Transmission's in neutral. And again, request out of range. So essentially, we have 6 tests displayed or optional, 3 of which aren't applicable to the vehicle. The other 3 we tried. They're all key-on engine idling tests. We didn't have any success running those tests either. It is possible that we didn't do the test properly. There are no instructions in here on how to properly run that test. I'm not, by my own admission, a Harley factory technician, so I'm not sure exactly how those tests should run. I can tell you from my GM experience on an idle air control valve test, I would expect to be able to control the idle air up and down, open that valve, increase and decrease RPMs. I wasn't able to do that with this. And the air cleaner intake valve and servomotor exhaust flap gave us conditions out of range error messages. So essentially we're showing 6 tests that are useless, in my opinion. So now we're going to take a look at the anti-lock brake system. Looks like 16 data pits. And again, if I'm off 1 or 2, hey, maybe Snap-on should add a counter to their software. Again, we have actuator tests and special functions. So we're going to go into actuator tests. We have ABS solenoid valve control front, rear, activate ABS pump. So we're going to go ahead and try these. Okay. And although it may not be audible on the video, we did hear the solenoid actuate. So that test is working. And again, though it may not be audible on the video, the test is working. Activate ABS pump. And that should have been audible on the video, and obviously that test is working. So it looks like those activations did work in the ABS. Now let's take a look and see what special functions we have. Special functions, we've got the brake system bleed. And although we're not going to bleed the brakes on this bike now, I do know that in one of our beta shops we have gone through this process. I do know that that process does work on the P1000. So we do have the option for front only, rear only, front and rear. I'm going to go ahead and exit. Again, we're not bleeding the brakes on this system. Then we have the ECU ID. Again, this should be hardware and software numbers, calibration IDs, things like that. Let's take a look at the body control module. So codes, this is one of the modules that was showing faults. So we are expecting to see a fault here. We've got a lost communication with radio. We also have some faults in the radio itself. This is maybe due to low battery voltage or the bike sitting or whatever the case may be. We're going to go ahead and try to clear it just in case it's something that we created during the making of this video. We'll go ahead and do a system scan once we're done, make sure that that fault is gone. Okay, no codes present, it was erased. Take a look at our data. So we've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36. Looks like 36 data PIDs on this one. Take a look at the configuration data. There's handheld. It looks like 8. Go into our actuator test, take a look and see what's there. We have empty fuel tank, fuel pump, horn, rear lighting, turn signal left, turn signal right. So we can turn the pump on. And that may or may not be audible on the video, but the pump is running. So we'll go ahead and test the horn. All right. Now, if that wasn't audible on the video, either we have really bad mics or you should go get your hearing checked. So let's go both sides on. And the lights are working. Center brake light on. Again, working as designed. Left side on. Right side on. And all lights on. Okay. Turn signal left. It's working on the rear. Working on the front. Turn signal right. And again, working on the rear and working on the front. That was very nicely done. I really like the way that they laid that test out. And then when you select the rear lights, you have multiple options to be able to turn them off individually as groups and so forth. So that was done very nice. It looks like we do have the option to program the key fobs. Now, again, this isn't my motorcycle. I don't have an additional key fob. I'm not going to mess with the man's bike. So I'm not going to change any of this. Feel free to write in and let us know if you've ever actually used this test. We would like to know whether it actually does work. In comparing these two tools, we're not trying to get into the minutia of this test, this individual test did or didn't work on this particular bike or this particular module. What we're trying to do is show you, the customer, as a whole, the value that you get with each tool. The reality is, if you've been doing this for any length of time, you realize that one scanner or another scanner is going to have a problem eventually. At the end of the day, it's more art than it is science, and engineers make mistakes. The difference is in the two companies is how they respond to the mistakes that they make. Eventually, I'm sure that if someone reports that the 6th gear indicator test on this Snap-on P1000 is not working, eventually Snap-on or whoever they're working with to get the software will address that issue. The difference with TEXA is their proactive approach and how fast they can get that done. And that's really from a customer standpoint, from a technician standpoint, and the ability to be able to fix vehicles quickly and efficiently. That's really the biggest difference between the two. I have to give Snap-on credit. Looks like they've got a pretty good, solid, robust offering for Harley-Davidson. And to be fair and honest, that's exactly what I expected. Snap-on and Harley have a long history of working together, and I would expect that Snap-on would have good, solid Harley-Davidson coverage. The overall comparison of these tools isn't limited to an individual manufacturer. The main reason that we're doing the Harley-Davidson is because we expect Snap-on to have the good level of coverage that we saw in this review. We're doing this to show the level of coverage that the two tools have overall. So when we compare the TEXA to Snap-on, what we should see if we have a professional level tool is something that's at least comparable to that, if not better. Now, the main reason that we're doing this comparison is to see how TEXA stacks up on the Harley, which should be an advantage for the P1000. So we have the, one thing I would like to note in the previous video, and this is something that the customers and viewers also gave us some feedback on. We utilized the Axoni in the last video. One of the cool things with the TEXA software is you have multiple tablet options or display options that you can get. With Snap-on and the P1000, you're going to be limited to that one chassis with the small screen. With TEXA, you can get an 8-inch tablet package, which in the motorcycle environment is the most common. You can also have a 10-inch tablet package, and then we also have the flagship, which is the Axoni. For this comparison, we're going to be utilizing the 8-inch tablet, which is the most common package sold. We're going to find out if there's any discrepancies in number of modules present versus the global scan with the IDC5 software. So what we're listing here, again, there were 7 modules listed in the P1000. And we're showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're showing 9. We're showing 2 more modules. But again, we're looking at a complete system list versus a fitted or a non-fitted systems. I'd like to remark on the cable just for a brief second. This is a newly designed cable by TEXA. When plugged in, there's an LED in the center of this that shows that the unit itself is powered up and that there's power going through the connector. It also has auxiliary power leads here, and it also has both the 4 and the 6 pin that we need for the Harley-Davidson, all in one convenient cable that's very competitively priced. These really convenient videos, as you'll see, show exactly where that connector is located. And it's all about saving time. And if you're saving time, you're making money. So we're going to go ahead and select our global scan. Number 1, it seemed to take a little bit longer for IDC5 to run that global scan than it did the P1000. In addition to that, while that test was running, I didn't see a status bar to let me know that something's going on. There was something down, there was a little weight down at the bottom of the screen, but there's nothing, no type of status information letting me know that, hey, something's happening and that there's not some kind of bug or glitch or whatever the case may be. And given that slightly extended scanning time, that may lead me to think that there's a problem and start all over again. As I mentioned earlier, with modern technology, we can double click and we have a shortcut directly from our global scan to the direct diagnosis for that given ECU. So we're going to click on parameters. And I remarked on this before, and if we look on the parameters tab, I am highlighted on 1 of 28. So it looks like we're coming up a little bit shy on the amount of data PIDs available. 28 for IDC5, 44 for the P1000. Now, when we start talking about filtering data, graphing data, and things like that, it's a little bit easier with IDC5. So if we double click on these, we can put it into a graph mode. We can also filter our data in a quick way. I can remove my filter, and I can also go to my custom or my favorites list. Really cool thing about this is every time I select this Harley-Davidson engine and I go in here, whatever data configurations I set up in my favorites list are always going to be there. Now, again, this is something that I like about the IDC5 software. Once I'm in the module that I'm working in, I don't have to do a lot of backing up. I'm going to work all of the information that's available to me, whether that's settings or activations, ECU info, whatever the case may be. I'm going to work that with these tabs going across the screen. So on statuses, we're showing 5, and I believe we were showing 8 on the P1000. So it looks like as far as number of data PIDs in the engine system, the P1000 it has a clear advantage there. We were looking at 44 with the P1000 and 8 configuration data PIDs, which would be the same thing as our status data PIDs, where we're showing 5. ECU info is going to be hardware and software numbers. Okay, there's a little bit more data available to you there than what we found in the P1000. And then let's take a look at activations. So if we notice here, we're only showing 3. We've got IAC stepper motor, idle speed control, and intake control valve. So we're going to go through these and see if these actually work. So we're going to do IAC stepper motor first. We're going to select that. We're going to hit start. We're going to confirm. Activate with engine off. Confirm. And confirm. And I'm not hearing a stepper motor run. So let's go ahead and do an idle speed control. Let's see what this says. Start. Confirm. Activate with engine on. We're going to hit start, confirm, activate with engine on, confirm. Okay, so now we have a few, or a little bit of information, a few words to guide us on what we should expect out of this activation. So it says if we go up or down with the arrow key, we should increase by 8 RPMs, and to the right or to the left is to increase or decrease by 40. So we'll go up by 8. You can see the command changed to 1008, 16, 24. What I'm not hearing is the RPM change like it should be. So we're going to arrow right. We should be at 1064. We're still under 1,000 RPMs, so this test is obviously not working as designed. Now we have the air, intake air control valve. Confirm. All right, this also wants it with the engine on. So now we'll go ahead and hit confirm. Cannot energize, press confirm. So again, either conditions aren't met or the test isn't working properly. Very similar story to what we found with the P1000. Looking back on what we experienced with the P1000 and what we're seeing with TEXA's IDC5, looks like both companies, both scan tools have a little bit of work to do in the engine activation category. I would say that it would be splitting hairs, to be honest with you, to declare which tool is better in that category. Obviously, we did notate that the P1000 had a few more data PIDs than what TEXA IDC5 did. Having said that, it also displayed activations that weren't applicable to this bike and other activations that didn't work properly. We had fewer activations displayed here, but those activations didn't work either. Okay, so we're going to move on from activations and we're going to go to settings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 configuration settings versus in TEXA's IDC5 versus 4 in the P1000. Okay, let's go ahead and jump out of the engine. So now let's take a look at, we're in the ABS system. Let's go ahead and take a look at our parameters. Now we're showing 3 parameters here. And according to my notes, we had 20 data PIDs with the P1000. So let's take a look. What we didn't have in the P1000 though was a statuses or a configuration data as they call it. So let's take a look. We have 3 data PIDs. How many statuses do we have? We've got 1, 2, well, we have 10. So as far as an overall data list, we had 20 data PIDs with the P1000. 13 with the TEXA IDC5 software. Obviously, TEXA has a little bit of work to do in terms of making sure that all the data is available in this system. We go into ECU info, and again, we're going to have hardware and software numbers. We do have a little bit more information available in TEXA IDC5 versus the P1000. Now let's take a look at activations. So in activations, there were 3 actuator tests and 1 special function in the P1000. So the actuator tests were like ABS pump and so forth. And I believe that was one of the tests that I ran for you that you could hear audibly in the video. Now it may or may not be audible in the video, but there is a high-pitched activation noise in the background. So we're going to confirm, and then that noise went away. And again, that may or may not be audible, but it does appear that this activation is working. And again, you may or may not hear that audible click in the background, but that solenoid is clicking. And the pump is running. And again, there was an audible click for that solenoid. And confirm. And again, click for that activation, and that test is working. So as far as the activations go in the ABS system, there's going to be a slight advantage that's going to go to the TEXA IDC5 software. There were just simply a few more activations that were present. The Snap-on P1000 performed pretty well on this 2017 Harley-Davidson Road Glide behind me. The purpose of this video was to show an honest and fair comparison between the two tools. I think if you've reviewed this video, you'll find that I've done exactly that. Our ultimate goal as a company is to see to it that our customers make an educated buying decision. Our viewers suggested that we did an unfair comparison because TEXA happens to do the factory software for Ducati. Snap-on has a long history of relationship with Harley-Davidson. So that is why I started this video with the idea in mind that the P1000 should have a clear advantage because of that relationship between Harley-Davidson and Snap-on. When it's all said and done, to be completely honest, I was slightly disappointed in both tools. The P1000 performed well, although it had a lot of bugs and glitches in it. We had some tests that didn't work properly. We had some tests that were displayed under the fitted systems that didn't apply to this vehicle at all. We had bidirectional capabilities that were missing in the TEXA IDC5 software, as well as a few modules that were a little light or lean in the data offering. So as a technician and a former shop owner, I'd have to say that, to be honest with you, if I was working on this bike in my shop, I'd be slightly disappointed with both tools. So let's talk about that overall. What does that actually mean? So when you look at the tools overall, in addition to Harley-Davidson, TEXA offers so much more. You have 9 vehicle lines that are available in the P1000. If your only interest is to work on Harley-Davidson vehicles, this probably would be a pretty good tool. Although I think after watching this video, most people would agree with me. A lot of technicians would be just as frustrated as I am if they actually had to service this bike and ran into some of the problems with the scan tool that I did. Conversely, just because there's more coverage available by TEXA doesn't necessarily make them the better tool. As I mentioned in the Ducati video, and what I'm a firm believer about, it's not just the scan tool. Snap-on's a good company. They make a decent product. My experience in working with TEXA has been one of surprise in the commitment that the engineering teams bring to bear, not just in the bike environment, but in all of the environments that TEXA writes software for. So at the end of the day, you're going to get a tool, a good tool, either way. What kind of service are you going to get when it's said and done? I can assure you by the end of next week, whatever bugs or glitches I ran into with the IDC5 software today on this video, after I give this video to the engineering team, will be rectified. The problems found in the Snap-on tool may or may not be. TEXA comes out with updates almost monthly, sometimes more than one update a month. So they're constantly working to make their product better and better. In addition to that, you're going to get local English-speaking, or I shouldn't say English-speaking, bilingual tech support that's available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And this isn't just tool support. This is actual vehicle-based diagnostic assistance in addition to tool support at no additional cost. The retail value of the tools are roughly about the same, $3,500, $3,600. Snap-on is going to be available, obviously, only from your local Snap-on dealer. There are several outlets to get your TEXA scan tool. They're available through the other mobile channels, They're also available through Advance, AutoZone, and some of the other companies out there, as well as a lot of independent distributors throughout the country. The level of service and support that backs this tool compared to the level of service and support that you're going to get that backs this tool is just one-sided. And that's why no matter what I compare these two tools to, TEXA is always going to come out on top. The level of commitment that they bring to the customer and the desire to provide the best level of service and support to the customer is what is going to put TEXA out on top every time. The commitment that their engineering team brings is second to none. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, this is going to be a series. We're going to do this on and on. We did Harley-Davidson just because of the feedback that we got from the Ducati video. We wanted to show all of the customers out there that if you're in the market for a scan tool for motorcycles, there's only one clear choice, and that's TEXA. And we want to show you that by showing the overall value. The only way that we can show you the overall value is to continue this video experience and offer you more videos. What you're going to see next is we're going to find something in the Asian variety. So we did Ducati. We've done Harley-Davidson. We're going to do something in the Asian family now, whether that be Yamaha, Suzuki, Kawasaki, whatever the case may be, I don't know. And then after that, it'll be a little bit less of a comparison and more of a showing off the additional power and capability of TEXA, because Snap-on just doesn't cover everything that TEXA does. So when we get into BRP and Polaris and things like that, we won't be able to compare the two tools because as of the making of this video, Snap-on just simply doesn't offer that coverage. So again, this is Lee Locklear with Cutting Edge. Thanks for joining us in the Cutting Edge Garage. We look forward to seeing you soon.